Welcome back to another side mission of mine. Now I can't be the only one who's struck this with their domestic duties. You're doing the washing, putting your pegs out on the line. These are the pegs that we get in New Zealand. Basically a pretty standard plastic peg. But as you use them and just generally use them for the purpose they were intended, the little plastic handles break off because of the UV. And I had a number of these lying around, and I will cue the video of this happening. Right, you're back with me again, and basically I've got a whole bunch of these waste pegs that I can just throw away. And annoyingly, I have thrown away like 20 of these before until I started saving them, because I realized I put two and two together. I've got all these bits of wood which I've made chopsticks out of. I inherited these from a furniture, someone making furniture didn't want them anymore. And a whole lot of these nice bits of wood, I don't know what, it's kind of a hardwood. And I thought to myself, hey, broken peg, wooden peg, that there are wooden pegs out there that last for ages. This one here, you'll see in the video soon, basically still going, except the spring's a bit rusty and horrible. So two and two together, let's make some new peg handles for these things and not waste them. Right, back to the real video. Get into it. See you guys later. How to make these pegs. Firstly, start off with comparing the size and positions of the grooves needed for the spring and the teeth. I'll call it the teeth, the front tooth that holds on to the clothing. And why can't they all be like this wooden peg here? Right, let's bring it all out to the workshop where we can get the use of our amazing vise, and with our helper, Mrs. Meow Meow. She's always around to help out and give us a bit of encouragement. Sweeping up this bench from the last job, which was the dustpan handle. The cat's still helping. Right. This is a process that starts off with putting a groove where I think it's required for both the spring and the teeth, and I'm starting off with these rasps, which are a fairly rough wood file, and I want to use my hacksaw, not the wood saw, to cut out the angle for the handle, because it's a more controllable saw. There's a bit of grease and horror on that blade of that hacksaw because I've used it to cut steel before, but that's okay, we'll just sand that off. It's looking okay. We've got a rough shape for the teeth, the spring and the handle. Now, critical for my spring loaded pegs here is the position of the upper part of the spring. This one has to be located perfectly in the timber, otherwise both halves of the peg will be coming apart, it's we need to rely on that spring location. It has to be housed in really well. So I found myself a file which is exactly the same thickness as this peg spring leg. It just requires a little bit of precision. Now let's get a closer look. I'll try and get the spring leg to go into this groove perfectly. I'm just trying to show you guys that. There we go, better angle here. I'll push it in and it actually locates really nicely in the wood. So I don't want to do it too much because it has to go in and stay in. So I'll put these peg sides together eventually and we'll make it locate perfectly. So I know it works, so let's do another groove right there. This is really rough. The rasp tool is really rough, and I just reminded myself that I've bought myself, thankfully, a set of files not too long ago, but it wasn't in the front of my memory, so now I've got the idea of using these steel files on this hard wood. We're actually getting some more controllable filing going on. I just pointed out there, that's the critical part where the peg will hinge on itself to open and close, and it has to be actually straight across. The front teeth has to slip onto the clothing, and that is a critical part of this as well. There's a lot of critical parts, but this one really does need to be smooth. So what I'm calling the front teeth, let's just smooth that off with a file. And you can do that in a gentle rocking motion, which tends to give you a lovely curved chamfered edge. And you'll notice that I'm going along with the grain so that we want the smoothest possible to not catch on any of the fibers of our clothes. Okay, that's the leading edge. It's looking pretty good. I'll sand the sides down a bit, more of a tickle up, and while it's in the vise here, it's a good opportunity to deepen the main teeth there on the front. There you go. Okay, we've got our peg basically ready to put the spring on. And deepen up my spring groove, and let's try it. So hopefully the cat doesn't make any disturbance while we're doing this. Oh, there she is. Sorry, I'm busy. Look cat, I'm busy. And that is lining up pretty well. Let's put it in the vise so we can both sides on first, and then put it in the vise and clamp these. I've got the idea of pushing the spring legs into the grooves. Just give it a bit of encouragement. Just in there. You might even see it click in. That one on the bottom just clicked right in. That's nice. Can't even move it. Anyway, let's clamp it a bit harder. Don't break the wood. It's looking pretty good. It'll grip anything. But it will particularly grip onto the washing line with a bit of washing on it. Doing good. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. As I did a few more pegs, the process became slightly more refined. So after cutting the angle, I really did get into making this peg handles to be actually perfectly straight. Well, perfect in my estimations. Maybe different to yours, but that is looking pretty good there. It was quite a nice process to get into, just getting everything set up right. It became a process of doing all the grooves and the handles, measuring. I got into measuring for a start, but actually in the end I custom made every groove. The size of these springs turned out to vary between the different pegs, so I ended up putting the spring on, drawing a line, and then making a groove for the peg leg, as I call it, on the outside of the peg. And after a while the finished products started coming out. Each of the pieces of timber that I have were different sizes, so it made for a bit of interest as I kept making them and experimented with making them a bit longer. Yeah, no, it turned out quite nicely. Here we are, the finished product on the actual washing line, doing its job. And that was the whole process. I hope you enjoyed that, and please hit that like and subscribe button down there somewhere. If you can't see the subscribe button, actually hit my face and you'll go to the channel and you can like it there and subscribe there. So yeah, thank you so much for joining in on this exciting ride. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to carry on, make some more pegs, because I've got this is what's left over after I finished doing that video. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.